Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into Claudia Reid's incredible speculative fiction novel, Exodus Through Darkness, and it kicks off with a really powerful question. What if a door to a better world suddenly opened, but not everyone got an invitation?
So the story doesn't start with some big explosion. It starts with a whisper, a really quiet, strange series of disappearances that pretty quickly spirals into a full-blown national crisis. You can just picture it, right? Inside the FBI, there's this map, and it's just getting covered in red pins. The number is already alarming. In only 6 months, 347 Black Americans have completely vanished. No witnesses, no trace.
And then things just accelerate. That number doesn't just climb, it skyrockets to 3,000 people gone in just 6 weeks. The entire country is starting to freak out. So the FBI, led by Director Sarah Chen, is completely and utterly baffled. I mean, the security footage they're looking at is the stuff of nightmares. You see people walk into a grocery store, a church, whatever. They head toward a wall with no exit, and then they're just gone. And get this, the only person who seems to have any answers is this physicist, Real Trexon, and he's already in prison. And he just completely flips the script. He says this isn't a crime, it's a liberation. His take is, look, I didn't commit treason. I just pointed out the fire escape in a burning building. Okay, so we have this huge nationwide mystery, but how does that become a deeply personal life or death choice? Well, we see it all through the eyes of our main character. Let's meet Maya Washington. She's 17, she's a brilliant student, she has her whole future mapped out. But then her grandmother disappears, and this cryptic note shows up. Suddenly, she's forced to choose between the life she's always known and this impossible promise of peace.
Now, this is not a casual choice. At a secret crossing point, of all places, in a church basement in Queens, a pastor lays out the rules, and they are absolutely brutal. 1, you take nothing with you. 2, you can never come back. And 3, you can never contact anyone you left behind. The decision is yours and yours alone. This really highlights the incredible leap of faith this all requires. When Maya asks, the logical question, what if there's nothing on the other side? The pastor's reply is just, wow. It's not about certainty. It's about choosing to believe in something better, even if it's just for a moment.
So Maya makes the choice. She steps through. What happens next? What does she find on the other side of that absolute darkness? She arrives in a parallel universe, a place called Apollo 28, in a settlement they've named New Canaan. And it is a world built on principles that are the complete opposite of what she left. We're talking 2 suns and a violet sky, no money, no property, a society where you work based on your ability and you get what you need. And it turns out it's not just for Black Americans. It's become a sanctuary for oppressed people from all over the globe. And this right here, this is the core philosophy of this new world. Its most important feature isn't something it has, it's something it lacks. It's a reality that, for whatever reason, just never developed systemic hate.
There's this really powerful moment where a former community organizer from Chicago reframes their entire journey. He argues that they're not running away from the fight for justice. They're actually fighting it in a new way, by building a working model of a better world, by proving another way is even possible.
So as this new world is being built, piece by piece, what's happening to the old one, the one they all left behind? Well, it's starting to crumble under the weight of their absence. Back on Earth, the Exodus triggers a catastrophic economic collapse. I mean, entire industries are grinding to a halt. Hospitals are facing these critical shortages, and food is literally rotting in the fields. America is learning a very hard lesson about how much it relied on the very people it took for granted. And of course, the US government tries to follow them. They send in military teams, but it's a total disaster. They discover that the doorways themselves, they're selective. They physically and violently reject anyone who hasn't lived through systemic oppression. You literally cannot invade this new world. This forces President Halyard to do a complete 180. He goes from calling Real Trexon a traitor to basically admitting that the Exodus was a necessary wake-up call. He's forced to confront the reality that his country drove its own people away.
So what is the actual measurable difference between these 2 worlds? The novel lays it out with some pretty shocking data through the eyes of a scientist. Maya's mother, who is a doctor, eventually crosses over herself.
and she testifies before Congress. Her findings are just staggering. In an environment that's free from the constant grinding stress of poverty, racism, and systemic pressure, social problems like crime and addiction almost completely vanish. The takeaway is crystal clear. The problem wasn't the people. It was the world they were forced to live in.
So America's back is against the wall. It's forced into decades of really painful but necessary reform, a period that comes to be known as the Great Correction. And this change isn't driven by some sudden moral epiphany, it's driven by pure necessity. They have to make the country a place worth staying in. Over those 2 decades, before the reforms on Earth really started to take hold, this is the number of people who chose to cross over: 847,000. It became the largest voluntary exodus in human history. And this quote from a review just sums it up perfectly. The whole sci-fi premise isn't really about escaping to another world. It's about holding up a giant mirror to our own.
And in the end, the novel leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Once you've found peace, once you've healed and built a sanctuary, what, if anything, do you owe the society that made that sanctuary necessary in the first place? It's a question that really challenges you to think about what it truly means to build a better future.